Hey Bree, so today I'm here to talk to you guys about how we got Lexi's sleep back on track for nighttime. Now, if you followed some of her update videos, you will know that around the 6-month mark, things got really tough really quickly when it came to bedtime sleep, and we were able to change things over the past couple months, and now we are in a completely different world sleep-wise. So I told you guys whenever we got to a good place and I felt confident in what I could tell you, I would go ahead and make this video. So because now we've been doing this for 2 months, it's been really great. We've seen it through some stuff, which I will elaborate on here in a moment. I feel very confident in coming to you guys and sharing what worked for us. So to begin, I feel like it's important to tell you guys where we were, where we are today, and then fill you in the middle. That way, I feel like it gives you a sense of why things needed to change, and maybe you could relate to what we were going through, and then also to show you that obviously what we tried worked, and I want to give you a glimpse into what our normal day looks like now, and then, like I said, get into it. But this will be a pretty lengthy video, just as most of mine are, so if you don't already have a snack or something, I would go ahead and grab one. But this took a lot of effort on our part to put together and figure out what was best for Lexi, and I just want to share the entire experience, and hopefully it can help you at home if you are experiencing this as well. So the issues that we were having, first off, I think you should know that she has woke every 3 hours to eat ever since she was a newborn. She is right on the dot every 3 hours. She is very consistent about what she eats. It's between 3 or 4 ounces, but honestly, most of the time it's still 3 ounces. We have tried to get her to take more. We have tried different bottle nipples, everything that you could possibly think of to try and encourage her to eat more. She is not having it. I am personally okay with that, and I don't mind it, so I've never felt the need to mess with it. And also, during her nighttime feeds, she doesn't actually wake up. She does in the sense that she is no longer completely asleep, but she just looks for her bottle, eats, and then goes right back to sleep. She does not use the bottle to pacify, to get to sleep, to stay asleep, or anything like that. She literally is only eating it to eat it, and then once she is done, she will push it away from herself and then roll over and go back to sleep. So at around 6 months old, we did start to notice some problems come up. And before this, we have not had any. You know, she would do her nighttime feedings and go back to sleep. We had no issues. But at around 6 months, we did start seeing them around bedtime only. Now, this varied when it would happen. Sometimes it was when we went to go lay her down initially. Sometimes it was 45 minutes to an hour after. Sometimes it wouldn't happen until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. It really varied. You had no idea when it would happen. But at some point in the night, she would wake up and she would not go back to sleep. She would just cry and cry and cry and cry. And I'm not talking about for 30, 40 minutes, I'm talking for hours. We tried everything. You know, we tried rocking her, holding her. We tried Mark helping her and me staying out of the room. We tried me helping her and Mark staying out of the room. We tried nightlight on, nightlight off. We tried a different sound machine noise. We tried literally anything and everything we could try to get her, to soothe her back to sleep. And it just never worked, because we could tell that while she was initially upset, it seemed like the farther we got from the point of her getting up initially, the more it was frustration, more like she couldn't go back to sleep. And that's what kept escalating her getting upset, was that she couldn't go back to sleep, and obviously she needed to and she wanted to. So when we had tried everything, we assumed that it had to be teething. It had to be a growth spurt. It had to be a leap. Something like that was out of our control, that, you know, it's just a baby thing and we're going to have to ride it out, and she just must be having a real hard time with that. But as things came and went, as she got her bottom teeth and they were through and she was not teething anymore, as she got out of a leap and she didn't have a growth spurt anymore, like all these things came and went, but the problem still remained. It became very clear that it was not any of those issues. We had also tried teething remedies and none of them worked on her, which only further proved the point that it was not her teeth. And let me just tell you, since then, we have had canines come in, which if you are a, you know, well-seasoned parent, you know that canines can be some of the worst on kids, and they caused no sleeping problems really at all. So I will get to that in a little bit, but just to give you a little insight. So Yeah, we had tried everything. We thought we knew. Sometimes it seemed like other nights went over better. There would be a night or two that this would not happen at all. And we had no idea what we had done differently that night. We would try to mimic literally every single thing down to a T to get that to happen again, and it would never happen. So by 7 months, we were really drained. We did an entire month of just trying to fix the problem ourselves, troubleshoot, try this, that, and whatever, and nothing was changing. Honestly, by the time we decided to get some outside help, it started trickling over to nap time. And that was one thing I kept saying to you guys, whether it was on Instagram or whatever, that I was really thankful for, that she was still napping well during the bedtime issues. I was really happy that nap time wasn't a problem. Well, it started to be. She started to sleep less. She started taking these more fractured naps, and it was all over the place. We couldn't get her to stay asleep for any good amount of time during the day, and it was starting to unravel nap time as well. So yeah, we didn't know when it would happen, why it was happening, how long she would be up, or anything on how to help her through it. So it was exhausting, obviously for her, also for both of us. So that is the reason why we decided to seek out help. And that kind of leads me to where we are right now. And the reason I want to talk about this instead of later is because I want to show you that these methods that I'm going to talk about actually work. So I already gave you a glimpse as to what we were going through in the moment and how exhausting that was. And as of today, when I'm filming this, which is in June of 2020, so after 2 months of doing this, we now have a baby who sleeps 12 hours at night, give or take, obviously, depending. And she takes 3 hours worth of naps during the day. And it is normally split between 2 naps. The first one typically is around 2 hours, and the second one is around 1 hour. Those can flip flop. There can also be a third nap if she happened to get up really early. It just varies, but she does herself, without us waking her up or making her stick to it, she does only sleep 3 hours worth of naps. Just depends on the day, what's going on, what has already happened, on how those happen, and how many there are. She is still in our bedroom, co-sharing a room with us as well in her own pack and play. She is still waking up to eat in the middle of the night. I say that because even our Owlet monitor does not count her getting up to eat as awake time. Seriously, if you look at her log, it is all dark and light purple. She's not even stirring enough to raise her heart rate to the level where the Owlet determines that she's actually awake. So just to give you an idea, but she is still doing that, and she goes to bed between 7 to 7:45 p.m. at night. It just depends, again, when her last nap was, when she got up that morning. It just varies for that reason. I also wanted to mention that we have gone through a lot of stuff. We have gone through the teething with the canines, like I told you. She is also now in the process of getting her front 2 teeth, I think. We're not really sure what they are quite yet, but she is getting 2 more teeth currently. We have also gone through a growth spurt, and we have actually had a couple nights where we've kept her up a little bit later and tested the boundaries and going over her bedtime. So all those things to say that these methods have held up during all of that. Of course, there has been a night or two here and there that we have had a little bit of trouble, but nothing compared to what it was like. Honestly, it takes one instance of us going in, laying her back down, and we have not had anything go past that since starting this method. So through teething, growth spurts, staying up a little bit later, these methods are holding strong. So that brings me to what we did. Now, I did a lot of looking into different programs. Obviously, there are a lot of popular ones out there. However, I found most of them to be around $150, if not more, which I just don't understand how most Americans can afford that. So I really wasn't interested in paying that much when I had heard about the Huckleberry app. Now, there was a lot of you who recommended it. There was also a couple of friends who had recommended it to me, and I decided to look into that, and their sleep analysis costed $15. So before I went spending $150 to get some answers, I decided to try the Huckleberry app. So it's an app on your phone that you can download, and you actually get their sweet spot feature for free, which is where it predicts the best nap time based off of a questionnaire and what you're logging sleep-wise. So you are able to have that feature, you know, whether you want to pay for anything or not. However, like I said, we were very interested in paying for the sleep analysis. So with that, you do have to log 3 days worth of sleeping, and then you obviously answer the questions, and then you submit it all, and then within a week they get back to you with a total analysis and a plan to move forward with. And this covers about 5 weeks worth of stuff. Now, Huckleberry technically is $15 a month, and I say a month because it does set it up to be monthly payments, as if though you would get monthly sleep analysis, and you totally can. However, I will say, now being 2 months out, we've been using the same plan for 2 months, so I don't find it entirely necessary. I mean, judge this for your own situation, but I found it not to be entirely necessary to ever need a new sleep analysis. So really, we just paid for 1 month, the one-time $15, and that was it. But just know it will set you up to be a monthly subscription. So if you only want to do it once, make sure you go in and you cancel it. Now, even if you do cancel your subscription, your analysis will still be in your phone, and you will still be able to go back and look at that. So even if you only want to do this once and not pay for it again, you're able to do that. But I just want to let you know, with the subscriptions being set up, to keep an eye on that if you only want to do it once. So while we were waiting for the Huckleberry plan to come back, a follower on Instagram actually reached out to me, and she said she wanted to send me a PDF of a pretty popular sleeping plan. So I said, go ahead, because obviously during this wait, we were still doing the same crazy nights that I had already talked about. So we decided to read that whole 60-page PDF of this popular sleep plan, and to fast forward a little bit, it was very similar to the Huckleberry analysis that we got. The main difference was that the PDF, in my opinion, was very rigid. It was very, you need to do it this way, or it's probably not going to work. You're going to have to do this or give up that, and you need to do it this way. And it was all these things just so it would work. And it kept saying that over and over again. If you don't do this, it's not going to work. If you don't do that, it's not going to work. And I didn't love that, because there were a couple of things that I was not willing to budge on. Number one, I was not going to cut out night feeds when she woke up to feed herself, because she's not getting enough calories during the day. If your child is not consuming the amount of calories that they need during the day, they absolutely are going to wake up, and that is fine. That is what their body needs, and that is the best thing for their nutrition. So there was that. And also, I wasn't very interested in her coming out of our bedroom. At that time, she was 6 months old, 7 months old, whatever it was at the time, and I really wasn't liking it. We've kept all our babies in our room until they were at least 9 months old, and that's the way that I like it. So I really wasn't looking to do anything different, unless for whatever reason we tried things and it would not work without her moving to her own room. So I didn't love when I was reading on the PDF that they recommended that I give up night feeds, and it probably wouldn't work if I didn't do that. And it said that there was like an 80% failure rate if I didn't move her out of my room. I didn't love that. It didn't instill a lot of confidence in me. It made me feel like the PDF wasn't very inclusive to what the parents may want. And with the Huckleberry, when I was submitting everything for the sleep analysis, they actually asked me if I wanted to wean off the pacifier, wean night feedings, take her out of our bedroom, how much I wanted her to cry. They really took into account with each and every individual little topic. So I really liked that. So from my standpoint, the PDF versus the Huckleberry app, I just found it a lot more intuitive to what the parents may want for their particular child. So our plan from Huckleberry, and like I said, this was very similar to the PDF, but the Huckleberry was a little bit more tailored to our wants and needs, because I did say I didn't want to wean off the feeds, and I also said that I did not want her out of our room. So they recommended that we focus on a set amount of hours for nap time, to set a strict bedtime, and then to also teach her on how to get herself back to sleep, because those were probably 3 of the biggest main issues, which when I read that, I was like, I don't know about that. I really don't see how she doesn't know how to get herself back to sleep. I don't think that she's like anything is off that much with her naps, and I don't see what having a strict bedtime would do. Eating my words now is all I will say. So that is when we also first realized that we had not been allowing her to figure out how to put her own binky in her mouth. I don't know how we went 7 months without realizing we had always put her binky in her mouth. She had no idea how to do it herself. She has never had to. We just always did it for her. So one of their first recommendations was practicing with the pacifiers. Basically, they said have no less than 4 or 5 pacifiers in the pack and play or whatever she was sleeping in, and allow her to be able to do this herself. They also wanted to practice during the day, setting them out for her so she could get them when she needs them, things like that, to practice on how to put it in herself, which was just, I could not believe, thinking back, that we had allowed that to go on and we had done that all that time. But that was one of the big first steps. They also recommended getting her a lovey, allowing her to attach to something to also give her additional comfort, because the pacifier is good, but it may help to soothe her back to sleep if she had also an additional item of comfort, which thankfully we already had one of those. So we just gave her the one that we had, and we just made it part of our bedtime routine, which is something else that they recommended, was to have a pretty good solid nighttime routine, and that way she knew what was coming and how to get ready for it. So our bedtime routine is pretty simple. We decide whenever it's bedtime, we go in, we take her in, we change her diaper, we get her diaper ready and all that other stuff, her diaper area. And then we also change her into her pajamas, like a footed sleeper. We put her outlet sock on. And then we make sure that the last 3 things are always the last 3 things, not in a particular order, but she knows when she sees these things happen that bedtime is coming. That is, we will turn the outlet monitor on, the base station, we turn off the light, and then we turn on her sound machine. And as soon as she sees those things happening, she kind of like assumes position on us, and she knows now that that means bedtime. So we made sure to be pretty routine in what we do for bedtime with her. So we do that, and then the plan recommended that we both say goodnight while we're still holding her, whoever is, and then that person lay her down quickly and then give her, her lovey or whatever she may need, and then you quickly exit the room. So that's what we did. And then it said that if she starts crying, you want to set a timer for 5 minutes. Now, I will say another reason why I liked the Huckleberry more was because it took into account Lexi's ASD, which is the atrial septal defect that she has. It is a heart defect, and it recommended that we clear her plan with her medical professionals, or we do a very modified, gentle way so she was not crying a whole lot. But we have cleared everything with her doctors, her cardiologist, and everything, so it was completely fine. So I really did like that. I like how they took accountability into that, and I do believe me writing in the ASD was like in the like other box, and I had to type it out. Honestly, with a lot of those, I feel like they're not even reading them, but obviously with Huckleberry, they do. So like I said, if they start crying, you set a 5-minute timer. And when that 5-minute timer goes off, if they are still crying, you go back in there, you lay them down without picking them up or holding them. You just lay them back down. You give them back their lovey, whatever they may need. You quickly say, good night, I love you, I will see you in the morning, you can do this, whatever you feel is appropriate to say and what you would like to say to your child, and then you leave again. It should last no more than like 15-20 seconds. Longer than that will make the situation worse. So we did that, and if they're still crying when you exit the room, you are to restart that timer and you add 5 minutes to it. So it would be 10 minutes. So you do add 5 minutes, but you don't go above 15. So like that's the max. So basically it starts off at 5 minutes. If you go in, reassure them, come back out, then you would go to 10 minutes. And then after 10 minutes, you would go up to 15, but that's the max. You don't go above that. So once you hit 15, no more. And honestly, that's the farthest we got on the first night, which meant it was 30 minutes in total. That was it. She put herself down to sleep, and the next night, I think it was 2 times, so it would have been 15 minutes. And then the night after that, I think it was 1 time. It just gradually got less and less that we had to start a timer. And honestly, by a week out, we really weren't setting a timer. And now 2 months out, we don't even set a timer. There, like I said, there have been a few nights here and there where she has definitely maybe had a little bit of trouble, but all we've had to do is set the 5-minute timer, and by the end of that one, we go in and reassure her once, she's completely fine. She's able to get herself back to sleep. And like I mentioned, with the plan, along with bedtime, they also wanted us to limit the amount of sleep she was getting to 3 hours for her naps. Now, I will say, our bedtimes, our nap times, our awake times, everything like that, that is specific for Lexi, for
are her age. Now, they will change. So that's why it's important, if you are interested in this, I would highly recommend doing it yourselves, because depending on the age, what you want for your child, things like that, it's going to vary. Obviously, also with your schedule too. Just keep in mind that these are specific to Lexi. And with using the sweet spot, we really did see between 2.5 to 3 hours is the best awake time for her. Anything more than that, she gets overtired. So we do really try to stick with that. First thing in the morning, right after she gets up, she's more like 2 hours. She can't go 2.5. And like I said, her naps can flip-flop, but after keeping them pretty strict, only allowing 3 hours and dividing them, that did take waking her up a couple different times, you know, from naps. And to me, I was like, oh, I just still have it in me that you don't wake a sleeping baby. And I did not understand how it would work, but it does, because if she's getting too much sleep during the day, it also makes it harder for her to get herself back to sleep at night. So for that reason, I gritted my teeth and I did it anyways. And I saw a huge change with that as well. She just had a far easier time putting herself back to sleep when she had not already slept too much during the day. So for that reason, we stuck to the good amount of wake times, which is between 2 or 3 hours, just honestly depending on what's going on. And then 3 hours total for all of her naps combined, whatever it might be, 2, 3, you know, whatever. And also that she does not have later than an 8 o'clock bedtime. Now, we have tested those limits. Like I said, she has teethed, she has hit a growth spurt, and there have been a couple of nights that we kept her up later than 8 o'clock, and it has held strong. But I think it's also because we did about a month and a half of this strict routine, not keeping her up past 8 o'clock, making sure she wasn't sleeping longer than 3 hours for naps, things like that, for about a month and a half before we ever had to run into a problem. It was really right at the tail end of this, right when I was honestly about to make this video, that she got her canines. And then after that, we were out a place and we just decided to not make it all about Lexi's sleep schedule, and we decided to test it. And like I said, it's been holding up really, really well. So I think for a while, it'd be really smart to stick to the schedule as rigidly as you can, just to allow them to understand the new normal. And then after a month or two, then you can start to test it, and that way it's a little bit more established when those things come up too. Her sleep changed dramatically for the better with this app. Now, I know that the PDF, like I said, had a lot of the same recommendations, but there's a huge price difference. And honestly, I think with how customizable the Huckleberry app is, you know, if you would like a gentler approach, because there definitely was gentler options than what I chose. And I feel like there was also a little bit more drastic ones that I could have chose. I feel like I was in the middle of a lot of stuff. So I feel like there's a lot of leeway here and there, depending on what you want. It could be as subtle as you want it to be, or it could be as drastic as you want it to be. It really just depends. And that's what I love about it. I also love that it costs $15. But I could tell from their sleep analysis that they had looked at the data that I gave them. They had read everything that I had sent in, and they had taken my wants and needs into consideration, because they also had additional little tidbits for me to work on. That's what it is. I will give you a glance at my app so you can see what the sleep plan looks like, but there was a lot of different things for us to work on. So you can see right here, it says comprehensive sleep plan, and there's all these things. So, and each one of these has something to work on. Now, I could have gone here and I could have, you know, checked everything, but honestly, we'd be here for 45 minutes. So it does give you each little individual thing to work on. And I loved that, because a lot of them did pertain to what I said I was and wasn't comfortable with. And you also have the option, even if they put those there, to say, I'm not interested. And all they do is ask you why you're not interested in it. So they get a little bit of feedback. So I think this app, especially for the price, is brilliant. I would start here. If you are even considering those super expensive sleep plans, I would highly recommend the Huckleberry app first, because I think in the grand scheme of things, $15 isn't going to offset you too bad if you are considering those expensive ones. So why not start with something like this? And then if that doesn't work, then go to the expensive ones. But I really think more parents need to know about this app because it really did change the way that Lexi is sleeping. Like I said, she still wakes to feed, but she is not having any trouble putting herself back to sleep anymore. I've watched her in the monitor, and that's how I also know firsthand. I'm a night owl. I stay up very, very late. So I'm watching the video monitor and I will see her stir, but she finds her binkies. She finds her lovey. She finds the things that she needs, and she puts herself right back to sleep. I am so proud of her. I really am. So, I just want to come on here and I wanted to recommend it. I know every baby is different. So even though ours was kind of a fast transition, yours might take a little bit longer, or, maybe you would like to see, some really big changes with your sleep plan. Maybe you just want something to help a little bit, whatever it might be, wherever you fall on the spectrum, I would just recommend it. Now, I will say that Huckleberry did such a good job that we really don't use the app anymore, but I definitely will if things come up. I have had both of our older girls go through things around 2 years old where things just start to get a little crazy, and I know exactly where I'm going to turn to when that happens this time around because I am expecting it. So because I have an account with them, I do have a referral code that will give you guys $5. In complete transparency, it gives me $5 too. I'm not really worried about that because I don't plan on getting a new sleeping plan. Ours works as is right now, but still, it's $5 off to give you guys, so I will leave it down below. That will make it $10, which is just amazing. And remember that it will sign you up for monthly subscription, so just keep an eye on that. Of course, you can do whatever you're comfortable with. I hope this was helpful. I know it was pretty lengthy and chatty, but I did want to share what worked with us. I hope Huckleberry can save you a lot of money and also help your little one sleep as great as it has helped ours. But if you guys have any experience with the Huckleberry app, let me know down in the comments below what you thought of it. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And as always, thanks for watching.